Hi, my name's Lieutenant Sutko from Palos Hills Police Department.
What is the most commonly used photography pattern when you get to a crime scene?
I think the one we would use the most would be the grid pattern, because as we begin the process of crime scene, we take an overall picture from the outside of the entire area. And then as we get closer and closer to where the actual incident occurred, we begin to check each room, and it becomes more detailed as you get closer and closer to where the actual incident occurred.
What is the most unique piece of evidence you have ever collected?
That would have to be a shell casing. We had a shooting one time when a robbery occurred in one of our businesses, and they fired one round up into the air to scare the people away. And we were able to locate that shell casing and then, surround it and make sure nobody damaged it or touched it. So it was pretty neat finding the one little shell casing in a big parking lot.
What are the signs that tell you it is a crime and not an accident?
Well, I think you gotta look at more than just one thing. I think you start off by, has anybody done anything forcibly to the residents? Has anybody kicked in a door, broken a window? Has anybody, you know, that's kind of, as you begin to get more and more experience, that's how I would look at it. Has something forcibly or violently been done inside there? Are there signs of blood spatter that go a certain way? Have you been able to locate a weapon? Did you get any 911 calls? Something like that.
In class, we learned that concrete evidence is the most reliable. Is this true?
Yes. People can tell you what happened, and every time you ask them, their story will change. Their witness testimonies are not as reliable as actual evidence that contains DNA or fingerprints or the proceeds from a crime or a robbery. If I pull you over and I arrest you for some traffic offense and you have proceeds from a burglary that I actually take pictures of, that can come back and jam you up. So there's no way that anybody could tell you that concrete evidence isn't the best. That doesn't lie. That doesn't change. It's always the same story.
What is the first thing an officer should do when responding to a crime scene?
Oh, very first thing is you have to set the perimeter. You have to know that there's a crime scene, so you have to begin not letting anybody in and not letting anybody out. You have to be, that's the most important thing. You have to have your caution tape up and you have to set the perimeter because you don't know exactly what happened, so you don't know how big this set is. So they always say set it bigger than you think. So that it maybe, after something happened inside, they ran out and another thing happened in the yard. You may not even think that's a crime scene, but it actually is. So you have to set your perimeter.
And in your field particularly, do you ever show up in court?
Yes. After we arrest people, they have their day in court, and they'll want to get statements from us in court in front of a judge to testify what happened. They always can't really remember exactly what happened if they were intoxicated. But yes, we testify in court to the incident that occurred. We do that in traffic court too. Like if we see somebody speeding, then they'll ask us which direction we were facing, were there any cars in front of us, stuff like that.
How many photographers show up at a crime scene?
What we have is we have evidence techs. Evidence technicians arrive at the crime scene to process it. So like if a crime occurs, the patrol officers will do the perimeter and make sure everything is secure. And then the evidence techs come in and gather the evidence. That's their specific job. That's what they've been trained to do. And they're very good at it. So they will, the number of evidence techs depends on the seriousness of the crime. If we have a murder scene, of course we're going to send more than one or two people because we have a ton of evidence we need to gather to prove our case. But if it's just like a residential burglary where they kicked in the door and maybe stole the phone or something like that, we'll send one because one guy can process that scene. So the severity of the crime really dictates how many evidence techs or photographers will come to the scene.
Do you ever take part in the chain of custody?
Yes. Regarding whatever the incident is, whether it's intoxicated subjects, we arrest people with cannabis, people with heroin, it's my job as a supervisor to seal that evidence and document what that is and where they got it from. So I'm the one that actually takes the evidence tape and places it on the bag that goes into our evidence locker room to be processed at the state. There's a special form we need to fill out that Illinois State uses at the Joliet lab that needs to be filled out where we have to ask them to identify the substance, weigh it, and determine exactly what it is.
Do you have to write up a report, or do other people do that?
The people that work for me do that, and then I'm the one that has to check the report.
That's all of our questions. Thank you so much for participating,
Ah.
and thank you for your time.
No problem. I hope you do well on this, in this.